it's a positive film. It has heroes and villains, and that it essentially is a fun movie to watch. It's been a long time since people have been able to go to the movies and see a sort of straightforward, wholesome, fun adventure.
Well, it's a fantasy. It's not science fiction so much as it is space fantasy. And it's about people. It's finally about people and not finally about science.
The story, when you actually put it into words, is only so much nonsense to hang a great visual experience onto. It's the stuff that fairy tales are made of.
Sort of boiling down religion into a very basic concept. The fact that there is some deity or some power or some force that sort of controls our destiny works for good and also works for evil.
Marvelous, healthy innocence. Great pace, wonderful to look at, full of guts, nothing unpleasant. I mean, people go bang bang and people fall over and are dead, but no horrors. A sort of wonderful freshness about it, a kind of like a wonderful fresh air.
It's got whatever you want it to be. It's pure entertainment. It's like a roller coaster ride, and it can be interpreted as long as you enjoy it, which is the intention.
Hello and welcome to Generation Skywalker. I'm Dan Burgess, and on today's episode we're going to be talking Hot Toys with someone who's at the coalface of the Hot Toys collecting community in the UK. Not only does he collect Hot Toys, but he has an independent business online that sells Hot Toys called The Good, The Bad and The Robots. He's also an admin over at the UK Hot Toys and Sideshow Collectors page, and he does unboxings with a certain celebrities, but we'll get on to all of that. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you all to Lee Ward. Lee, thanks for coming on today.
Hi Dan, yeah, thanks for having me. How are you? You all right?
I'm very good. So we're gonna be talking about lots of different things today, but to kick things off, when were you first introduced to it as a child?
Well, I'm not sure how old you are, Dan. I'm in my late 40s, and obviously around when the original trilogy was released. I totally missed the first one. I believe that was 77, so I was only 2. And then The Empire Strikes Back came along. And a weird story, I was supposed to be going to the cinema with my mum, aged, I believe, 6 years old. We went to the cinema to go and watch Superman. And the cinema locally to us was closed when we arrived, so we went to a different one down the road in Weybridge, and they were showing The Empire Strikes Back, and we just went, well, we'll see what this is like, Yeah. And that was my first experience, and I don't want to split opinions, but for me, it's still the best one.
I'm very envious of you. I never got to saw any of them in the cinema. I was 79, so I missed the whole cinema thing. Them. But yeah, that must have been brilliant.
Oh, absolutely. I was quite a fidgety kid, and I'll never forget my mum saying to me, she said I had to keep nudging you because you just did not move. I just wanted to check you were all right for the full 2 hours and 20 minutes, whatever it is, So and that was the game changer for me, because before that it was always the Spider-Man series and the Hulk, the old-fashioned Hulk. But Star Wars took over my life.
So when was that? When did you see that in the cinema? Would that have been 1980 then, on the initial release, or would that have been later, do you think?
Yeah, it was 80/81. So
right, okay.
I think I was 6, maybe 5. So yeah, between those two. Yeah, 80 to 81. Yeah.
So was it all Kenner action figures after that then, was it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was like, can we go straight to the toy shop? We didn't have a lot of money when I was a kid, but everything was relevant, wasn't it? $1.99 back then for a vintage figure, or new as they were back then, was the price of a standard toy. So I saved hard, and then obviously my friends were into it, and we used to trade and borrow and swap. Yeah, it seemed as a kid that although there was only 100 odd figures out there available, you were never ever going to have them all.
No. You have to wait till you get to your 40s for that.
Yeah, but here I am in my late 40s and I still haven't got them all.
Oh, okay. Did that continue on through Return of the Jedi and in terms of your
Yeah,
love for Star Wars?
luckily I had a friend who was a major, even at that age, was majorly into it a lot more than me at the time, because I was so new to it, and he was trying to explain to me that there was a movie before and
Right.
it wasn't a standalone story, and yeah, I did it all the wrong way around. I watched Strikes Back, then Jedi, then A New Hope, but because of the amount of time, because when I was a kid it was on every Christmas and every bank holiday, you soon pieced it together even though it was the wrong way round.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was it. And of course, that was the only three we had for a very, very long time. So
Yeah. So how did you pass the time then between movies? Did you carry on collecting Star Wars, or did you move away from it for a time?
Yeah, it was. I'm still a compulsive collector now, and as a kid, when you had no money, it was really hard to even save £2, to get a figure or whatever they were, £1.99. And what I used to do was, but where I used to live on the outskirts, I was brought up on the outskirts of London, and we were one of the first places in the UK to introduce the supermarket trolleys where you got to put £1 in to release them. Yeah. Well, back then it was a 10p piece, and I used to spend my mornings on a Saturday trawling the huge car park, finding abandoned trolleys and saving the 10p's.
That's very industrious. That is.
It's very entrepreneurial, isn't it? Hey?
Yeah, very good.
And it used to get me about a figure a fortnight. Yeah.
And brilliant. Very good.
Oh, but the trouble is, Dan, you played with them as a kid, didn't you? And I look back now in horror when I used to launch Luke Skywalker and his X-wing fighter out of my bedroom window and things. So yeah, and then that was it. And then my grandparents. They started buying me the kind of smaller vehicles like the X-wing fighter, which was back then my ultimate favourite ship. No longer now. It's been replaced with the snow speeder. I'm a sucker for a snow speeder, and yeah, it was just the most exciting time. It really was, and I don't think kids today grasp it like we did back then. There
isn't an equivalent, is there? There's too much, not Star Wars, but just stuff in general. It's definitely a special time. Absolutely.
Yeah, magical, and it'll be with me, for the rest of my life. It just those immersed. You just used to immerse yourself. You were there. You were part of the movie. Crazy when you look back now. They had no articulation apart from their heads turned, and you had to make them walk like a German Nazi. It was about the only way they'd move.
How good were you at keeping the weapons safe, or did they end up down the back of seats and up the Hoover?
Yeah, always losing those. Oh yeah. I don't even know how I lost the lightsabers that were integrated into the arm, but I managed to do that as well. Yeah, crazy, isn't it? But there's a moral to that, and the fact is that if we didn't play with them as kids and we kept them all pristine, we would have so many and they wouldn't be a valuable commodity like they are now.
Yeah, it's the people that who didn't play with them with kids and stuck them up in the loft. They're the ones laughing all the way to the bank. They're suckers buying it all up now.
but do you know what? Yeah, they might get some good money for it, Dan, but they won't have the memories like you and I will.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
How did that kind of evolve then in terms of your collecting? Where did you go to next with it? The common story is, I started drinking, or I discovered girls and toys went away, or I wanted a BMX or a new computer, so I flogged all my toys to my mates. Did you have a similar scenarios to any of that?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, just grew out of them. I was an avid He-Man fan as well, so I had He-Man and Thundercat figures. Yeah, I guess it just got overtaken with life.
Yeah.
When you had your freedom, you weren't imprisoned at home, and you found other ways to keep entertained. Your mates were a bit more wild. You go out, and especially when I was a kid, you could free roam all day. You know, your alarm clock was the dusky sky. You knew it was time to go home. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so yeah, it kind of took a back seat for quite a few years. I'd say the gap really, I probably got out of it around 12, 11, 12. I remember flogging loads of it at a car boot sale and not having a care in the world. I don't even know what the money went on, Dan. It probably went on a ZX Spectrum game like, I don't know, Jet Set Willy or something, you know.
Oh, brilliant! So when when we get back to around to the 90s and that, and Star Wars started coming back, so we had the novels, and then there was Power of the Force 2 figures and all of that. Were you in on any of that, or was you still out at that point?
Yeah, not really. 90s was my kind of definite pub clubbing days, going out to work days. But funny enough, I did buy a few just in passing. I saw them on offer, and they were crazily cheap, and I did pick up a few, and I didn't do anything with them, but yeah, it still wasn't in my mind. It was just an impulse buy. I think it was a case of, oh my god, they do look better than the stuff I had as a kid, but the magic wasn't there. It just wasn't there with them, you know. Just another action figure. So yeah, it just cut dead, Dan. I had a couple of books. And then I'm not sure when it was released. Maybe it was a bit more like the late 90s. But one of the book companies released an encyclopedia of Star Wars figures, and a mate of mine bought me it randomly because he was a Star Wars fan as well. But you know, we didn't really talk about the collectibles as much then. It was more about the movies, and he bought me it for Christmas, and yeah, just flicking. You know, I just got that nostalgic feeling again, and then I started just about then hunting for loose vintage, you know, and that's where it went. And we're talking now, yeah, definitely very late 90s, I would say, mid to late 90s. And I guess the story continues because we're now lapsing into how the business started, the Good, the Bad, and the Robots. So I was trawling through what I used to call the yellow paper, which was like a free ads paper that we had back then. And I saw this advert, and it was for a selection of Star Wars figures, unopened. It said something like, I think it was about 100 quid or near off. It was a little way from where I lived. It was probably a 100-mile all-round trip, and I was only a kid on 80 quid a week at the time, you know. There's a lot of fuel to get there and back. So I questioned this, and it was a rather sort of older lady. She didn't really know a lot about them, and I just thought, do you know what? For the sake of that, I'll go get them. You know, it sounds like a good deal to me. I might be able to knock her down. Blah blah blah. So fast forward, got to a lovely lady. She said, "Yeah, we've been sorting out the attic. My son is a naval officer. I just want this stuff gone." She said, "It's just been hanging about. He just told me to get rid of it." So I said, "Oh, let's have a look." So she cracked this box open, and there were 34 sealed vintage Star Wars figures.
Wow.
We are talking the late 90s, so I could 100% say they weren't counterfeit because counterfeiting wasn't really heard of on those things. And they were mint, completely mint. And I almost kind of wobbled a little bit. And I had to keep composed, so I didn't want to give the game away, Dan, you know. I had to keep my A game. And I said to her, wow, I said, I've got a few of these already. I said, what a shame, I've come 50 miles to see these. I said, would you split them? And she said, well, not really. I'd rather they go. She said, look, you're obviously interested. She said, just give me 70 quid and we'll call it a day. And I went, yeah, you're done. Yeah, 70 quid. So that was it. I bought them. Off I went. I told my mate about it. He was telling me about this site he belonged to called eBay, which I'd never heard of in my life. And he said, look, let's take Greedo, for example. Let's put him on eBay and let's see what it does. Of course, the rest is history. It went for, I think back then it went for about 200 240, 250 quid.
Wow. Was it on a Star Wars card or Empire?
Yeah, Empire, I think that one.
Right.
Was it? No, it was Tri-Logo.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that was it. Like I said, the rest was history. And so it kind of gave me the cash to start getting involved with the project. And I started buying a bit more stuff, and I started going to the toy fairs. I found vintage really hard to get hold of because everybody was after it. And as time went on, people were getting more and more savvy about the value. Fast forward 2004, I was on my honeymoon. The first week I was in Florida, and we happened to stroll past this comic book shop. And in the window, I found these Gentle Giant busts.
Yeah.
You know them?
Yeah. I've got a couple.
Yeah, very cool. Especially back then. Oh, the actors are 3D scanned, and then they're produced and they're painted, and they're all limited edition. Now, of course, back then, Dan, it was $2 to the pound. So these Gentle Giant busts were 19 quid.
Right.
Yeah. Unfortunately, as you know, they come in rather large boxes, so there wasn't a lot of room in my suitcase. But I bought one. I brought it back with me. I went to another destination before coming home for the second week. It survived. I was just in total awe, and then I started trying to research who sold them locally. Realised they're 40 quid over here. But one thing I did notice is as soon as a lot of stuff sold out that was limited, the price started to creep up. Yeah. So I spent my hard-earned cash on Gentle Giant. Then I found Sideshow, premium formats, things like that. And I bought a load of stuff up, and then I disappeared off the buying scene, the selling scene for a year and a half, 2 years.
Right.
And then I came back and started listing them, and they were making mega money, and that's kind of how it went for a while. Yeah. So
all from that vintage find.
All from that
20
vintage
years
find.
ago.
Yeah.
Those vintage cards then. So did you keep any of those, or did you let them all go?
Yeah, I sold them all.
Wow.
Yeah.
You weren't tempted. You weren't tempted to start a run.
yeah, of course I was. Yeah. But the collecting vibe still wasn't kind of in my blood. It hadn't quite come back. Once I'd got over the nostalgic side again and the memories, I just thought, look, I've got to do something sensible with this money. But I used to enjoy doing it. I used to enjoy meeting the people, because back then, internet was sparse, and you did, even your local toy fairs were crowded. People queuing to get into them, you know. And then with the Gentle Giant and the Sideshow, it became a bit of an attraction because nobody really knew about it, and you stood out from everyone else that had the same old crap on their stalls, and it generated a lot of interest. And back then, naive, I just thought, you know, I didn't think that people would look at the price tag and go, bloody hell, you know. But they didn't. They were just in awe, you know.
Yeah.
And so that's how the Good and the Bad Robots started. It was around Sideshow, premium formats. Ran it like that for a couple of years, started the website, and then started the importing, and then that's when the trouble started, because statues are fragile, they chip, they break, they'll devalue with the smallest of chips, or you know, devalue massively, and it was becoming a real headache. I'd import them halfway from across the globe, mint, and by the time they went up to, I don't know, Sheffield, they were bashed up.
So were you getting them directly from Sideshow, or even Gentle Giant, or is there wholesalers and that you'd buy them from?
Yeah, Gentle Giant were very keen to give me an account, so that worked out really well. And then Sideshow were okay, but they said they needed a minimum spend, and I was nowhere near that. I was in my infancy. So I had to go for a wholesaler and lose margin, and I never went back to Sideshow in the end. Yeah.
So was there a big market for all that stuff back then? I used to, you know, I'd go into like Forbidden Planet and I'd see their cabinets with all that stuff laid out, and it was pricey. Was there still a big market for that kind of thing back then, though?
Yeah, the answer was yes, Dan. But I'm not talking like, I wasn't shifting loads and loads of units. I was just shifting enough to keep a bit more money coming in, making a bit more profit, and being able to get a bit more buying power. And then when the statues became a real thorn in my side. Hot Toys had hit the market; they were just bubbling. I couldn't get my head around it at first. I thought, well, they're just figures. They are quite plasticky. The outfits are cool and the accessories, but no, I couldn't get it. Couldn't get it for a while. And then the better stuff came out. The RoboCops, first generation, and the Hellboy, and the Godfather, and Blade. And I'm just thought, we're on to a winner here.
So they didn't do a Star Wars Hot Toy. I think 2009 they did that Luke Besbin, right? And that was the first one they did. And
First one.
That was kind of a one-off, wasn't it?
Oh my God, yeah. It was such a tease. When the day had come and they announced that, I was just like, at last, here we go. Hallelujah. And that's all we got was the one, and it just all went off and died. And, you know, we had Sideshow, not brilliant, but they were a good accompaniment. That's why Sideshow Darth Vader made so much money back then, because everybody wanted it to go with Luke. And yeah, you just put up with what you had, I guess, Dan. But as we know, it changed. And out come the further announcements a few years later. In 2009, my business was a couple of years old.
Right.
And I was still really quite heavily into the statues. But I got hold of that Bespin Luke, and I know a lot of people still slate it now for the head sculpt and that, but I was just in total awe. 2 bodies, 2 outfits, a ton of accessories, the weather vane. I mean, God, what a touch!
Have you still got that now? Have you? Or
yeah, I've got the special edition with the half blown Vader helmet. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, very nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
And I've heard they're going to do another. There's been rumours of another version of that. I know they've got pictures, or they've got a picture on Sideshow, and they said coming soon. But that's been there for a year or so now, and I think it was announced at like some Comic-Con before COVID came in that they were going to redo that one. But not a lot coming out on that one.
No, I've never actually seen anything in black and white to say they've announced it, but I've seen plenty of pictures. And Hot Toys are a bit crafty. They're very good at their marketing, because it gets people talking. Is it going to be a re-release, or are they just showing it as part of what was back then the Empire's 40th, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, have you got like with I think some of the layer photos, you've kind of got half of Han in the photo, Han Besbin, but again, no Han Besbin announced yet. I've got Lando, and we've got a couple of layers, but yeah, no Han.
No Han, the one that everyone wants.
Yeah,
including me.
Yeah, I think we did our end of year show, and we were talking about what we wanted this year. And I don't know if you've listened to Mark Daniels on there, he's keen for that Han as well. So I think that's going to be a big seller, that one, certainly in the Empire fans, anyways.
Yeah, it's just for me that the other side of collecting was, you know, your games and your acting like them and playing with your mates. And I was always Han from Empire Strikes Back. That's how I saw myself at 6-7 years old, running around with my pretend pistol. You know, yeah.
So where did the good, the bad, and the robots then? Was that your eBay handle, or where did that name come from?
Yeah, do you know what? That's a really good question. I think originally I was looking at a couple of names. I wanted something catchy. My mate, who thought he knew it all at the time, said no, it needs to be related. You need to have figures or collectibles, and I just thought no, I need something quirky. I think I was looking at something like heroes, villains, and droids, but found out that somebody had taken that in the States and were quite a big player on eBay back then. And yeah, and I just thought I need to, you know, kind of hop on the back of a film title. I want it to reflect, you know, good and evil, and yeah, the good, the bad, and the ugly came up in my head, and I thought, what about good bad droids? No, because that sounds like I'm selling droids that could be good or bad, and then it just evolved from there. So it became the good, the bad.
It's when you think about it in that, you know, context of Star Wars, if nothing else, it's quite a good representation of Star Wars. You've got the good and the bad and the droids.
Yeah. Try not to let my personal taste get in my branding, but
it's very subtle. It's very subtle. Sticking with Hot Toys then, and your business. So, you know, generally will. I mean, we had a glut of it back in the summer. You'd wake up in the morning, switch your phone on, go onto Facebook, and they've announced a new hot toy. And you kind of, oh, that looks nice. I wonder where I can order that from. So, where is that? Do you find out the same time as us that that's coming out, or do you get any kind of heads up on what's coming?
I don't. No, I don't get a lot of advance warnings. I get whispers sometimes of when things are going to be actually released a little bit in advance, but not from my own supplier. It comes through the community. But yeah, no, no. The announcements are bang there, and then I have to wait 4 or 5 days before I can put it up on my site, because to keep the prices down, I have to go out to more than one supplier to see who can do the best deal.
Right. Okay. And how do you make a decision on how many to buy? I mean, you obviously know your customer base quite well, but is it you look at a figure and think, actually, I think that one's going to be a big seller, or that one's not so good, or how do you make that call?
Yeah, it was very strict in the early days. Obviously, the majority of them come in cases of 6.
Right. Okay.
So I would open up the pre-order. As you may or may not know, the pre-order window is pretty sharp. It's actually only around 4 or 5 weeks, for the cut-off date. And then what I would do is, when I got to the cut-off date, no matter whether it was 1 to the nearest 6 or 5 to the nearest 6, I would round my order up to the nearest 6. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
But that's all I had the cash flow for, because as a lot of suppliers would tell you, a lot of dealers would tell you, we have to stump up quite a lot of money up front to secure them. It's the culture. It's not just Hot Toys culture. It's the Asian way of dealing with things. So that's what we have to do. So we've got to be very careful. Now things are a little bit different, and it is very judgmental on the response, I guess.
Okay.
And also, obviously, for market research, I have to watch the film to gauge whether I think it's good or not. It's great putting through cinema tickets and popcorn on my expenses. It's brilliant.
We've talked. We do the show The Modern Way, and we've spoke a lot about the sequel trilogy. Certainly, the last couple of years, I think just before lockdown started, Rise of Skywalker was kind of, I think it was still in the cinemas, and we were looking at certainly at the Hasbro and the output regards to that film, and there wasn't a huge amount. There still hasn't now really been a huge amount of figures that have been released. I know we've seen a few Hot Toys, and I wasn't really following it as closely then as I am now. I think there was a Sith Jet Trooper, and several others. Was that quite a muted release from Hot Toys as well when it came to those movies? Certainly the later ones.
The Force Awakens nearly crippled me from a business perspective, because I went on the assumption that they were going to do a good job with those sequel movies. The Trooper had been redesigned. To me, it looked quite cool. It looked quite modern. It was capturing the younger audience. So it was growing their fan base. And they announced loads of different variants of First Order Troopers. You had sergeants with white pauldrons and commanders with burgundy ones. You had snow troopers, you had standard, you had heavy artillery, and the list went on, Dan. And I thought, people are going to be completists on this, and they're going to want a set. They're going to want one of each at least. They're not too expensive. They'll be cool. They'll be fine. Oh, what a mistake! What a mistake! I was stuck with them. Oh God, 2 years maybe after they were released. Nobody wanted them.
Wow.
There was no posability. The QC issues were quite rife, heads falling off and guns snapping when you touch them, and total nightmare. So not never been a big fan of the sequels, and never really been a big fan of the merchandise, I'm afraid.
I've looked at prices on eBay on some of those Hot Toys, and that you can get hold of them quite cheap, I think, still.
Yeah, do you know what? If you're a Hot Toys collector and you're looking for some serious shelf fillers, wow, buy them. They're not terrible. But I just think after the hype and everybody went and saw the movies, the first one, look, I didn't find the first one too bad. I have to say it was okay.
I agree.
But I think we all had an element of disappointment, didn't we? We just
Yeah.
felt a bit empty afterwards. The middle one, sorry, you have to forgive me. That was
The Last Jedi.
Last Jedi was the middle one. Oh, did we need that film, really? You could have run it straight into the end one and you wouldn't have missed anything, would you? Really?
No.
Such a shame. And then
Yeah.
I heard rumours that this was probably a year or two ago now that Disney were going to delete them and redo them.
Oh, yeah, I think that's wishful thinking. Although apparently Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill describes the Luke Skywalker in Last Jedi as Jake Skywalker.
Jake Skywalker. Yeah, so, but the sad thing is that they did knock out some really good, both, well, 2 out of the 3 Lukes that they did for the sequels were very good, actually.
Yeah.
And the Han was, wow, it's the only time Hot Toys have got Harrison Ford bang on. Shame it's an older version, but
Yeah.
oh my god, mind blowing. Chewbacca, no, complete flop. Looked like Bungle from Rainbow. Yeah, really, really savage. A couple of the customizers out there did really well in turning him into a half aggressive looking beast.
Well, they put a comb from him and gave him a haircut, did they?
Yeah. I think it was just cutting down and reshaping the muzzle to stop him looking like Ted,
Yeah, I think they've really struggled. I mean, I don't think there is a really good representation of Chewbacca. I'd still go with the vintage one, I think, over anything else. They've never managed to get the hair. I mean, it's the hair, isn't it? Right? It's just difficult. I imagine it's difficult to sculpt, or to have real hair is just a nightmare to keep it in good order.
Yeah, but look, we're figure collectors, Dan, not hairstylists. So,
absolutely. Well, you'd be surprised, mate. You'd be surprised.
A chap I've known, he's been a client of mine for a long, long time. He did an amazing job of this back when they first come out. I'm sure it's on one of the forums somewhere. But he gave it a really futsy, scruffy look, and then he stuck somehow modelling snow, so made it Hoth ESB, the start of the film, and it just looked absolutely bang on. It really did, and it's the closest I've seen.
So yeah, they've done some good Rogue One stuff though, right? So Rogue One was a success. They must have been a good one, right? In terms of the Jin's brilliant. We'll go on about that. I think the Death Troopers are just kind of they're coming back in Mandalorian now and getting all kinds of re-releases and things like that, aren't they? So they must have been a popular seller.
Yeah, no, they nailed it with Rogue One, both movie and Hot Toys, in my opinion. Of course, I'm impartial, of course. Everything that came out on the Rogue One line from Hot Toys was just pretty faultless, really. Personally, my favourite from that line is Krennic. I thought they got that bang on. It's an amazing figure. I am more Imperial than the Rebels. That's where my interest is with Hot Toys. But again, we could have done with a couple more characters. I don't know why Hot Toys do this time and time again. At least try and complete a set. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think again, when we did our end of year show, I think we almost have our kind of critique of the year, the bit that we're disappointed about, and I didn't want to keep banging on about Hasbro, so I did go with Hot Toys, just purely because they've gone down a road of, certainly with Mandalorian, it's very Mandalorian heavy at the minute. I don't think there's many figures from outside that movie that have been put up for pre-order in the last 12 months, which I think is a little bit of a shame. Do you agree? Are you getting that feeling, or is that something that you've not really thought about?
I think as they've evolved as a company, I think it's kind of standard practice now that you announce and put pre-orders on things that you have a license for, live for the moment, because in the next 2 years you may not have that license again. So they've got to bulk send everything out. A few other companies, I say a few, I know of a couple of other Hong Kong companies, licensed companies that kind of were a bit more laid back, and it caught them out. Enter Bay was a classic example when they lost their quarter scale license, and frantically were I think we're emailing people via newsletter with links saying, please buy this, it's a bargain, we really need to get rid of it, and we're all buying up Robocops with the electronic head movement, the quarter scale for like
Wow.
a couple £100. It was great.
Wow.
and I think that's why Hot Toys do it. They do it so they're covered, because we don't know, nobody can predict the future. How long are these things going to take to release? We've got season 3 around the corner, so to be honest, it's a great strategy because it's all going to pick up again, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you think we'll see in the next few weeks a slew of Book of Boba Fett figures being announced? Would that be a fair assumption, do you think?
Yeah, I think you're right. Again, great strategy. They did the twin pack, which is now released in Asia, of the Mandalorian appearance. But then they were able to, I don't know how technical it gets for licenses, but because he appeared at the post credits on that throne, bang, right, we need to get that out because we know that that's coming. Blah 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 blah. Krennic obviously has been announced. Yeah, I guess it's only a matter of time. We just got to. I'd love it if they redid or did the Gamorrean Guard. So on a couple of those.
Yeah. Well, we've got a busy year, so rumor has it we're going to get Obi-Wan or Kenobi, as it's known, in the next around May, and then later in the year they've got the Andor series, so we'll probably see some more Rogue One figures off the back of that, or Rogue One related.
What a time to be alive, Dan?
Oh no! Imagine this when we were growing up.
Oh, the Mandalorian really it's one of those Star Wars moments that for me was as magical as the original trilogy. I absolutely loved it.
I would go with that. I pre-ordered the that Luke they bought out, or they announced back in the summer. I bought and paid for that straight away. I was like, take my money, I want it now.
Yeah.
and it's a nice enough thing. I know people have criticised some of the face sculpt because they've tried to make it more like the Luke in the show, but for me that's a standout moment for me in terms of collecting.
It's what Keith Lemon calls the Sega face.
Sega face. Well, should we talk about that now then? So I've obviously, I've seen on Facebook and on Instagram you've done some unboxings of Hot Toys with Keith Lemon. Tell us a bit about that and how's all that come about.
Yeah. Wow. Where do I start with that? I guess when I found Facebook was getting a bit flat, I was chatting to a friend of mine, and he said, "Have you got an Instagram account?" I said, "Oh no." I said, "I'm not a technophobe, but I'm a little bit complacent, I just do the same old." He said, "Yeah, get yourself an Instagram." I said, "Why?" Yeah, you show off all your photos. It's all the rage and all this. And I said, "Oh, okay. We'll have a little look at it." So I opened up an Instagram account, started posting the odd few bits, and out of the blue, I get this message from Paddy McGuinness. As you do. Sorry to bother you, it says. Recently got into the hobby. Would you be the man to help me with a few questions, if it's no trouble? I thought that's a very polite message for Paddy McGuinness. I said to my mate, I got some hoaxer trying to message me pretending he's Paddy McGuinness. I said, I remember moaning about it like an old man. How do they let him get away with it? It's disgusting. And he said, send me a screenshot. So I sent him a screenshot. He said, no, it's him. I said, what? I said, how do you know that? He said, you've got to have these verification texts next to your name. He said, no, that you can't copy them. That's him. I'm like, bloody hell. Wow. Paddy McGuinness. Take me out. I think that's all I associated him with at the time.
Yeah, no likey, no lighty.
No likey, yeah, and all that, yeah. Yeah. And you just kind of think yourself, does a cool guy of showbiz like that really want to be asking me about 1/6 figures? But yeah, so I got chatting to him, hit it off, had a good old laugh, to and fro. And then about a month later, I get a new follower, and it's Keith. I'm like, bloody hell. And he's got the tick. It is him. I'm getting used to it now, Dan. I'm getting used to it, you know.
Yeah.
So I just sent him a message, and I thought he'd never reply. I said, thanks for the follow. Are you a collector? Well, that was it. Bang. Not just messages we were sending, it was like novels, you know.
Right.
It was
Okay.
insane. Turns out that Keith's been a collector all his life, you know. If you ever get, I don't know if you ever saw the live questions, like questions and answers I did with him on my Instagram.
Yeah. I did see that. Yeah.
And that gives you a bit of an insight into Keith's life as a collector. Obviously, he's very comical and he's very funny, but also, yeah, he's a proper nerd. He really is, and it's great. And time moved on, and then I got introduced to other guys, mainly from ITV, who were all collectors. So I'll throw some names out there. Gino DeCampo, I supply him. Jonathan Ross, David Williams, Lee Gill, I've even supplied, who played Gary in The Joker. You know, the
Right. Okay.
yeah, who's also on Celebrity Juice, and he's been in Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings. So yeah, he buys off me. Oh my god, yeah.
Wow.
There's a few there anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, they're really good. I think it reminds me of Meet the Fockers. I think when you're in the circle of trust,
Yeah.
you know, as soon as you exploit any confidentiality, you're outside the circle. You know,
Right.
but
Okay.
not that it's anything, you know, that interesting to you know. There's no controversy behind it or anything, but
No.
yeah, they are just full on collectors, and I think with Keith, he's always done that. I think with Paddy grew up in a very, you know, borderline poverty breadline lifestyle, and didn't have the toys and couldn't afford them, and now he's obviously a multi-millionaire and he's making up for it.
Yeah. Don't blame him. Don't blame him.
So, and then what happened was Keith would buy stuff. He put some regular orders, pre-orders, and I just thought, you know, I might just have a bit of fun. It was never really about the marketing, although that helps. But I thought I'd ask him a cheeky question. I said, look, I've never seen it done on YouTube. You're obviously trying to grow your channel. I said, and it was all about the benefits for him, you know. And I said, how do you fancy a dual unboxing? And he went, I love it. That's ace. That will really work. It's different, isn't it? And I said, yeah. He said, yeah. How are we going to do it? So, like, the first attempt was a real blunder. In fact, we never published it. It was such a mess. We had technical issues going wrong, and and then we tried again with another figure, and then off we went. I don't do many, but it is great fun because obviously what you see in 10 minutes is 2 hours of recording, and
Yeah.
I find it really hard to keep a straight face with him, to be honest.
I think we did. I think it was at the beginning of the lockdown. I think certainly. I mean, everyone was on Facebook a lot, weren't they? And I started to come upon some of. I think he did the Leia Besbin. He did an unboxing for that, and we just started doing the show around that time. And Hot Toys, the guys, I wasn't buying Hot Toys. I think I got my first one this time last year, but the year before that, they were going buy a Hot Toy. Yeah, and I saw that Leia Besbin. I was like, wow, that's actually really nice. And definitely thought maybe I should start looking into these a bit more.
Yeah, she's one of my favourites. Although she's a very plain, simplistic thing. I bought two because I haven't finished it yet, but I'm converting one into the escape layer. So you need the Bespin head sculpt and the Hoff body. Yeah.
So I've got the Hoff one. But yeah, the boots are different, aren't they? So she hasn't got the boots out like she does with the Leia Hoff one, and she hasn't got the body warmer on, and the hair's different like the Leia Besbin.
That's right. Yeah, you got it. Yeah, so I've got my shoes all painted up by an artist, and Yeah, look, it's going to look quite cool, I hope, when it's all done. But again, just recreating my favourite moments.
So in terms of your own collecting, it must be really tempting then, when every with all those Hot Toys passing through your hand, not to just get everything. How do you pick and choose what you're collecting? You've mentioned you like Imperials, but what is there any other things you look out for?
Everything.
Carl, let's cut to the chase. How many Hot Toys do you own?
Oh God, yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, apart from a few that I saw had QC issues over time that I sold on because I didn't want to risk it, and a few duplicates, I've pretty much kept one sealed of everything since 2007.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah.
And that's not just Star Wars, right? That's it. Is that
everything?
Wow.
Yeah. So that's my pension pot.
Very nice.
Yeah. It's securely locked away, all insured. Yeah. So I don't have one of everything. Not every MMS and every DX. There were things that suffered a lot of issues, so they went potentially before they developed issues.
So is that with the issues and things like that then? So what are the biggest causes of that? Is it clothing or certain materials where you see that happening, or is it rubber parts?
Yeah, they seem to ironed a lot of it out now, Dan.
Right.
Black dye against pale paint is always going to have a problem,
right.
Especially if figures spend a long time in humid countries.
Okay.
Because it's in the air and it does literally kind of soak off the clothing. Yeah. But back in the early days, it was probably more to do with reactions between materials used. So a prime example was the DX02, the Sonar Batman, and his abs, which were a hard material, were mounted on his rubber suit, and it caused a reaction. And what happened was that it started to literally melt the rubber on his belly. It was just literally falling off over time, of course. And then they had the same issue with a comedian, and his arm straps were just falling off. And yeah, they had to keep addressing it. Now with Star Wars specifically, the problems really are dyes off robes, because Star Wars are apart from troopers, they're heavily robed, aren't they? And what's your first thing you want to do? You want to put the hood up, don't you? Because it's ultra cool.
Yeah.
So that's great. But if you've got an Obi-Wan with grey hair and you keep that dark brown hood up, you're going to get lines.
I'm sitting here looking at my Obi-Wan now with his hood up, and now I'm thinking maybe I should take it down. Oh, dear.
But,
I was trying to make him movie accurate, so it looks like he was going to battle with Darth Vader.
Yeah. Look,
even on that one though, specifically, I mean, even some of the cloak, and I don't know whether it's the wear on the robe specifically, not the brown robe, the beige robe underneath. It seems to have some yellow lines going through it now, some yellow streaks, and I'm wondering if that's now you said that, whether some of that is coming off of the robes.
It could well be. The thing is with for Obi-Wan, for instance, you don't have to not display it with the hood. Just something simple like lining the inside of the hood with sellotape. It's just to stop that contact. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
As for the yellow streaks, well, I guess it's like as I said, I'm a massive Imperial collector. I've got an awful lot of troopers, and the stormtroopers frighten me, because do you remember what the vintage turned out like? They went
yellow.
Yellow troopers running around.
Yeah.
What I should have done was use the red and re-release newer troopers in yellow.
Yeah, so long as you don't start peroxide in your Hot Toys, that's quite a controversial practice in vintage collecting community. Is people peroxide in figures? It doesn't go down particularly well with some of the faithful.
Out. Really? Peroxide? Jesus, yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
I thought it was just Chavs that did that, but there you go. An awful lot of A New Hope Han Solo seems to develop a yellow undervest or undershirt.
Right, okay.
It's supposed to be white. So, I don't know, white's always a seriously dodgy colour in terms of ageing.
Yeah.
But I guess if it's material, you can wash it, right? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
It's definitely a different mindset in hot toy collecting. You know, I was mentioning some of the stuff in there in vintage, but even, you know, like with the Black Series and the vintage Facebook groups I've joined, it's all very a lot of complaining going on. Whereas I look at some of the hot toys collecting pages on it, all seems very harmonious. Everyone seems very happy with what's being released. And is that your experience? And what are the biggest gripes within the hot toys community, do you think, at the minute?
Like you, I'm the other way around. I've never really had much experience with the vintage side as communities. Don't really belong to any groups because, you know, I kind of just don't do it anymore with the vintage. Black Series, I got hooked after the Snow Speeder. I started going out and buying them and just thought, Lee, what are you doing? You know, it's one or the other. Cut it out. So I stopped. Spent a bit of time on the Black Series. But the point I'm trying to make here is, I don't know if it. I don't think it matters what community you're in. The whole Facebook thing has changed so much over the last 7-8 years. Why, I don't know. I guess people are more used to it as a way of life. Whereas when I first started Hot Toys groups with friends, we'd start groups up. It was all very exciting and very new, and we had a really close community, and literally everybody looked out for each other. And it was a rather small community, you know, because Hot Toys wasn't still that big and Facebook was new, so it was a great combo. Fast forward 7 years, a typical group will have 5,000-6,000 members, and I wouldn't want to be new in the hobby anymore. People just seem to be quite aggressive and nasty, and it's like you're not allowed to be new at anything anymore. It's kind of what it's got like. I don't know how you feel, you know, if that makes sense. I
joined I think the Facebook group you admin, so the UK Hot Toys and Sideshow Collectors group,
Star Wars group. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So, and you know, I started putting a few photos up of the stuff that I was getting, and it was all very, very positive. You know, and I've bought a couple of bits off of there now. I think I bought my Obi-Wan off of there, and the Snow Trooper I've got both of those off of there. No problems. Yeah. Not that I go around in the vintage collecting groups and have, you know, loads of issues, but it's more, I think, you know, you're always going to get someone who's negative or abrupt and, you know, thinks he's clever. But I think you do get a lot more support from individuals when you're when you go in with a question or you ask about something. But, you know, you're on there all day, right, adminning, so maybe I'm just not dipping in and out a bit than you are.
No, I think it works well because you know, some people will probably say, oh, you know, you're very strict with your rules and your expectations, but because I've seen it all over the last 7 years, I just try and keep things as straightforward and as easy to follow as possible, because it really does divide groups if you get into any kind of conflict. It's not very nice, you know.
Yeah. Is that a page you set up yourself then? Is that your own, or do you admin that with others?
No, it was set up by a guy called David Rotherham, who's a bit of a cosplayer.
Right. Okay.
Obviously found a passion for Hot Toys and Sideshow, and I think he decided I have to search for all these sort of general groups to try and find my Star Wars bits. So he went off and started up a little 1/6 sort of dedicated page, and I came across it, and bless it, it had like, I don't know, 35, 40 members. And I liked his rules because he was just straight to the point. You know, don't be showing off your bloody Iron Men in here. There's plenty of other groups for that. And I thought, oh, but you know, and I got chatting to him, and yeah, he was really, really nice guy, not too far from me actually. And I said, look, you've got the makings of a really cool group here. I admin a couple of general groups. I'm going to get the people that I know who like Star Wars to join. And yeah, he was really happy because it went from 30 members to about 1,500 pretty much overnight, and it's just a steady pace now. But for me, I think the smaller the group, the better.
Absolutely.
It just gives you that old sense of the community that I was talking about earlier, and I miss it. I really do miss it.
Yeah, and that collecting community. I mean, is there meetups or anything like that goes on? We have a lot of that certainly in vintage groups where we have there's certain toy shows we'd all meet up at. I think we've done a show recently about Farthest From, which is down in Fordingbridge, a big vintage show that goes on 2 or 3 times a year. Is there anything like that happens with hot toy collectors?
There is kind of my kind of group of friends, customers. Yeah, we tend to go to the London Film and Comic Convention.
Okay.
And we've done this for quite a few years on the trot now. And we spend literally only a couple of hours looking around it, and everybody's in the pub by midday. And
that sounds good.
Until my last train, which is kind of like 9:30. So yeah, it's a good day. It's always been a good turnout. Some people are religiously there year in, year out. Some people can't make it, but you'll see new faces, and then next year that will change. It's really good. And yeah, we go to the same pub, and we literally take over the front of the pub, and we almost sit in a big huddle. And it's great drinking beer and talking to like-minded people, because
absolutely,
it's a once a year treat, and it's such a laugh. It really is.
Oh, I might have to join in on that one next time.
You got to come and meet the guys, and it's my way of saying thank you to my regulars, because I don't have a physical shop, and
right.
It's an ongoing joke that I've always got to get the first round in, and obviously when you got 20 blokes there, that's an expensive round, you know.
Could buy a hot toy for that.
Yeah, that's it. But it's the least I can do, because it's the only way I can show my support, you know.
Oh, brilliant. That sounds right. Actually, I'm up for that. I'm gonna come along to the next one of those. We've been talking.
You don't get a pint though, Dan. You haven't ordered off me.
I have. I'm waiting for my Boba Fett and my double Boba Fett pack.
Oh yeah, you are. Yeah. Okay, I'll take that back.
You have
as well. Yeah, you have. Sorry.
So don't forget
Brilliant.
me.
No, I haven't forgotten that.
So where's the so in terms of, so you don't have a physical shop, you don't do anything physical at any toy shows or anything like that, then it's all done through the website, right?
Yeah. The shows, unless you go to the major ones, they died out since eBay and Facebook Marketplace and all that. So it's really sad. The local ones I used to carry on and support, and they just got less and less, and it's a lot of work for nothing, no return. Yeah. And weirdly, people go to shows and they expect things half price, I think.
Yeah, looking for a bargain.
Yeah, and it's like, no, that's not what it's all about. I've got a pitch to pay for. I've never done one at Comic-Con. I know, obviously, fellow traders that do. I know ones that go there religiously. Comic-Con for me is exactly what I just told you. Quick walk round, say hello to a few dealers that I haven't spoke to for a while, and then get down the pub with my friends and my clients and have a good old chinwag and a few beers.
No, it's definitely, just the networking element of that is priceless, isn't it? In terms of talking to people as well and finding out what's what and what's going on. And
I don't know what your vintage your vintage collectors are like. Some communities can be very geeky and very we're just lads.
Yeah, it's the same, mate. Exactly.
We're just lads. We like to go and have a beer and just have a good time. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, we did the Saturday night in Fordingbridge. It's beers and a curry, and then go into the toy show, have a hangover the next day. So we normally make a weekend out of it. So sounds like-minded people.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah.
So when I was going to say with the hot toys and your online shop, where can people find that, and where can they find you online and buy from you? Hard-earned cash for you.
Oh yeah, please do come and have a look around. Look, we know the culture with hot toys. It's not a type of product that you can just generally log on and with what you want to buy and find it and check out. It doesn't work like that. You've really got to pre-order. It's the safest way. The website www.thegoodthebadandtherobots.co.uk. I'm very active on Instagram. Just basically tap the name into Google and you'll find it without all the underscores. And Facebook, I'm not so regular updating. I do have a business chat page, which is the Good, the Bad and the Robots chat. and that's just kind of like a segregated group, but anybody's welcome to join. And that's where I post my announcements, whether it's pre-orders or release dates. But yeah, just PM me. You'll find me in most of the groups if you've got any questions. I do have a number, but I can't give it out right now because I'm literally on the verge of changing it, so it would be pretty useless. The company's going for a rebrand, so the logo's going to change. I've got a new number, new email address, and yeah, that's an exclusive for you, Dan.
Oh.
Like it's going to change the world.
So just, I suppose, for the benefits of the listener, so you do payment plans and all that good stuff as well, and deposits on pre-orders and.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, deposits and then balance on release. You can do an automatic pay in 4 over 4 months, I believe it is, with PayPal. Anything more specific than that, we have to tailor make and set up. So I can do recurring card payments, or I can invoice you for balances, and you can partially pay as and when you want. It's all very flexible. The only thing I ever ask my clients is to please have the bill settled around a week after I've announced it's coming.
I can't wait for my Boba Fett twin pack.
Yeah,
I look forward to the email.
So many pictures of it already. You know, this is the strives of being a UK seller. I'm never going to be as quick as Hong Kong. It's where they come from. It's where they ship from. I'm bringing in consignments. The Hong Kong sellers are selling out individuals. I'm never going to compete with it. But on the flip side, you know what you're paying with me. You're never going to get charged anymore. Okay? There are a lot of people that get theirs through without any customs fees. But that is getting tighter. Getting tighter. The borders have changed the way they operate. They're ploughing more money into border force. I'm not trying to give you a history lesson here, but collectors do have to beware that imports are going to come in thick and fast. But I'm not the slowest either. I'm one of the quickest, definitely in the UK alone, and I'm definitely quicker than Sideshow in a lot of instances.
Yeah, I mean, we've I think a few of us have been trying out different methods. I think Sideshow's the default for a lot of collectors when they start out. I might be wrong there, doing a bit of service, but that was certainly the path I was pointed down to begin with. And then the £60-70 custom fee started rolling in. I started looking at other options, and we started with Hong Kong. I got away with it with my first one, but Stuart, he's just been stung on his shore trooper and mine's about the land, so I'll be interested to see whether I get stuck on that. So as people get you might have a few more customers coming your way. The dreaded import fees. No, we've got to pay them. I've got to pay them. I've got to pay them for my goods coming in. I can't mark my cases of 6, 12, 18, 24, 30. I can't mark them as gift. You need to go and find a few more job lots of 70 vintage Star Wars action figures. That will balance it out.
Yeah, totally, absolutely. But yeah, we've all got to pay it. But I just factor that into my price, and my price is always what you see. People say, "Oh yeah, but Sideshow rewards outweigh the import fees," but no, it doesn't. I'm afraid it just doesn't. You do get reward points, yes, but at 60, 70 quid extra figure, no way is that value. Sorry, I'm not stating Sideshow. They're just doing what they have to do.
No. It's true though, isn't it? If you're in America, it's a great way to order them, right? But
totally.
On our little island, we've got to weigh up the options. It doesn't really make sense for it to get shipped all the way out to from Hong Kong to the US and then back to the UK. It's got to be a cheaper way, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the business. My only other advice is pre-order quickly, because they do tend to sell out quite fast.
Since with COVID and everything else that's gone on the last couple of years, have you seen an increase in activity?
It definitely went nuts during the lockdown, because all of a sudden people had a lot more income, not more income, but more expendable income.
Yeah.
And nothing to spend it on, but you could still get stuff in the post. And God, I just couldn't get stuff. I couldn't get all the stuff quick enough. It was a nightmare. And it's kind of leveled out again. I think.
Okay.
we picked up a few more collectors. I noticed a lot of people now kind of upgrading from Black Series to 1 Sith. It's quite a step, isn't it?
Mm. But if you look at, you can go and buy 20 Hot Toys, or sorry, 20 Hot Toys, 20 Black Series, and then or one Hot Toy.
Yeah,
So you've got to weigh some of that up a little bit, haven't you?
yeah, totally. Yeah, I'll never go off 1/6 scale. It's in my blood now.
So Lee, I think we could carry on talking all night, but we're gonna wrap this up now. So it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. But
Yes.
before we go, just I suppose a couple of questions. What is your favourite Hot Toy to date, and what's the one Hot Toy you'd wish they'd make?
Oh wow! Oh, you said there was going to be no surprises, Dan. Favourite what?
So if I was to find your lockup with all your full collection of every single Hot Toy ever made, and said I'm taking them, which one would you want me to leave behind?
Oh my word! Do you know it's hard enough just to think of my favourite Star Wars one, let alone any of them.
Let's stick with Star Wars then.
Okay. If you put a gun to my head and I had to make a snap decision, I'm gonna have to go with Han Solo in Stormtrooper disguise.
That is a nice one. A good choice.
If I had the choice, I would say the pair because I love the Luke as well. But Han's got the edge. I think he is my pride and joy. So Hot Toys favourite, that one. Weirdly, there's a pattern here. Which one do I want them to make? Bespin Han.
I think me, you, and Mark need to start a petition. They've got to do it right. I've got my Lando now. I've got my Boba Fett from Empire. I've got Leia Hoth. I've got Snow Trooper. I just need a, and I've even got the Vader from Empire as well. So I just need a Han Bespin to set it all off.
But yeah, you know what it's like, Dan. There's so many. Moff Tarkin's another favourite, really is. So I won't go on, but yeah, there's so many to choose from. Brilliant. So thanks so much for coming on, Lee. It's been an absolute pleasure, and hopefully we can come on again and talk some more Hot Toys at some point. I'd love to come again. Thanks for having me as a guest, Dan. And yeah, thank you. And I look forward to the next time. Take care.
Brilliant. Cheers, Lee.
Cheers now. Bye.
Cheers. Bye bye.